Right, today I'm going to show you how to make possibly the easiest cider recipe on the planet, and this is called hard cider. Very simple recipe. You need your discount fruit juice from any of the supermarkets, probably around 50-60p for a litre, your demijohn, your airlock, and then something to filter it in, and your yeast obviously. Right, this is very easy. Put your funnel into the demijohn. Pour your first litre in. And the great thing about this cider is it'll cost you under 50p a pint. And another tip with this particular recipe, the longer you leave it, you end up with a smoother, more palatable cider. Something akin to what you'd buy in the shops. I'm going to put the third litre of apple juice into the demijohn. And it's important when this particular recipe is fermented out, it takes between 6 and 9 weeks. When you bottle it, make sure all the sediment's settled at the bottom, and there's no need to use all these commercial products to clear your wine. Once it's settled at the bottom, as you're siphoning it off into your bottles, if you add a teaspoon of sugar to each bottle, it helps to carbonate your cider. Okay, so we're down to our last 2 litres of apple juice going into the demijohns. Now this particular recipe takes between 6 and 9 weeks to ferment out. Once it has fermented out and cleared, your next process then is bottling. Now if you want a cider that's crisp and light and a little bit carbonated, put a spoonful of sugar in the bottom of each bottle before siphoning your cider into the bottle. It's a good idea to use plastic bottles, because after a couple of weeks, if you squeeze the bottle and the bottle's quite hard, it will tell you that the cider is carbonated and ready to drink. Now with this recipe, it's quite common to add half a pound of sugar. If you don't add sugar to it, your final cider will be about 5.5%. Now, a word of warning, the more sugar you add, it will turn into something very strong and you're going to be wobbling all over the place, and subsequently you might end up falling on the floor. Right, so we're up to the gallon mark now. Right, so we've ripped the yeast sachet open in order to get basically all of the bits that are stuck to the corners. So we're going to add this final bit of yeast. And there's some argumentation going on about yeast and hard cider brewing. Some people use champagne yeast and other people use wine yeast. I've tried both, and the wine yeast makes it taste a little bit like a wine. So I'm sticking with the cider yeast. Now I'm going to add a jar of honey to this in around a week's time, because I think it adds a lot sort of smoother taste than using refined sugar. And we simply take the airlock with the bung attached at the bottom. This one's already got water in. Push it down so you get quite a tight seal where you can't push it in any further. Right, so now the demijohn's sealed, we're going to lift it up and we're going to give it a good shake. The reason for doing this is to ensure that the yeast and the apple juice mix together fairly well. It's not something everybody does, but I do it fairly regular when I make this brew, and it always comes out very nice and quite strong too. So we're going to give it a shake. We'll do it carefully because we don't want the bung blowing out the top, so it's just... You can see all the yeast coming up from the bottom and mixing in. And that's about enough really. So I'll now take this and I'll go and store it in a warm place for 8 to 12 weeks.